Hello and welcome to another episode of Epic Card Game Lab. Today we are going to be covering the base set only constructed format. I like this format for a few different reasons. Firstly, because, well, the Epic Card Game app is about to come out. Next month, March 2017, is the estimated arrival. If you back the Kickstarter, you're able to get alpha access. Now, when the alpha access hits and possibly even into the beta, there is only going to be the base set available. So if you're looking to play that game online, then this is going to be of important information to you. I'm going to be doing some other decks as well. Another reason you might want to check out the base set only format is if you're trying to get something going in your local community. If you've done drafts for a while and you're looking to upgrade to doing standard, I would actually suggest that you don't just jump all in to full constructed because, well, you have new players trying to get into the game, and maybe they don't want to go out and buy 3 copies of everything just yet. They'd like to start slow, this paycheck, get this, and then maybe down the road get the expansions. So if you run a base set only event, it encourages those new players to be able to play and know that they're going to have a level playing field with the more experienced players who are a little bit more invested in the game. So this is definitely a great format that you can get in with them, and I highly suggest it. So without anything further, let's go ahead and get into the deck. The deck that I have here that we're going to be covering is a Wild Sage deck. It's mostly wild cards. And this is kind of a classic deck for Epic Card Game in terms of anyone who comes from a Magic background. This is usually one of the first kind of decks that they gravitate towards once they read all the cards. They automatically think, oh, I can build a deck that does all these awesome things that I want to do. And this deck does do a lot of awesome things. And it's what some people will call a tempo deck. It is able to gain tempo in a few different ways, but it's not purely a tempo deck. There's some cards that don't give you any tempo, and instead they give you card advantage. So it's a pretty well-rounded deck. It's going to give you a variety of options against different opponents and different angles of attack to be able to do something no matter what game you're playing. And then at the end, I'm also going to throw in some cards that you might want to add because, depending on what cards other people are playing, it's definitely going to influence what cards you want to play. So for the deck, we have 3 Rampaging T-Rex, or Raging T-Rex, sorry. 3 Triceratops, 3 Kong, 3 Rampaging Wurm, 3 Surprise Attack, 3 Strafing Dragon, 3 Hunting Raptors, 3 Flame Strike, 2 Forked Lightning, 2 Lightning Storm, 3 Cape Troll, 3 Fire Shaman, 3 Wurm Hatchling, 3 Fireball, 1 Flashfire, 1 Lash. For our Sage cards, we have 3 Sea Titan, 3 Thought Plucker, 3 Erase, 3 Standalone, 3 Muse, and to finish it up, 3 Hasty Retreat. So that's our deck. Let's go get into some of the choices. Also of note, before we go any further, some other cards that I considered were Amnesia, Memory Spirit, Frost Giant, and Ancient Chant. Those are definitely some options depending on if you want to go a little bit more controlling deck. Also, maybe a little bit more aggressive deck with Frost Titan. And then also you can play Amnesia if there's going to be a lot of discard pile synergies that you need to answer, depending on what other decks people are playing. It's really hard to deck out in Constructed, so it's not so much a counter to that, but I mean, it's out there. So first off, we have our little package here of card advantage cards. These are card advantage cards because what card advantage is essentially it's where you can invest a certain amount of cards and then get more cards out of it. So with Raging T-Rex, you invest 1 card in your gold, and you end up with 3 cards, 2 more in your hand, and 1 in the Raging T-Rex on the battlefield. You also have Triceratops, which is card advantage because you invest your 1 card in hand and you get back your card in hand. and then you also advance your board with Triceratops. And then finally, you have Kong. This guy gives you card advantage in the fact that he essentially gives you a 2-for-1, which, like Triceratops, gives you 2-for-1, and Raging T-Rex gives you a 3-for-1. But Kong also can gain you tempo, because if you're able to destroy a card that's on the field that your opponent invested their gold into, essentially you make parity with the gold, but you have the Kong on the field and they don't. So you have essentially what's called tempo, because you have something in play that's going to lead towards victory in the game, whereas they don't. Also, we have 3 Rampaging Wurms. Rampaging Wurm, he can win the game out of nowhere. You might not necessarily want to play 3, maybe 2 is a better number. But Rampaging Wurm, he can win the game sometimes, because if you go first, just playing him turn 1 when your opponent has a hand that's not able to react to him just yet, 14 damage is almost half their life. So Rampaging Wurm can definitely win you some games sometime, especially when maybe later in the game, you can set up a board position to where you bait them into needing to play their gold before you've played your gold. Then you slam down your Rampaging Wurm, get them for 14 for the win out of nowhere, because they're thinking, oh, I'm at 13, I'm healthy, I'm not going to die yet. You'll notice all those cards, though, you have to play. They cost a gold, and you have to play them on your turn. So this is kind of one of the weaknesses of the deck, but it's not too bad, because that's about it on the cards that you have to play. Other than that, we also have Sea Titan that you need to play on your own turn. Other than that, though, all the other cards that cost a gold, you're able to play on your opponent's turn, which is very critical when you're building an epic deck, especially one when you're wanting to gain tempo, because if you draw too many of those cards and you don't have cards that you can play on your opponent's turn, you're essentially wasting one of your 2 gold that you get every turn cycle. So to help with that, we have 3 surprise attacks. So this enables you to play those champions and also Sea Titan on your opponent's turn, essentially at no cost, really. If you're putting in a champion that costs a gold, you spend a gold on your surprise attack, you get your gold, a free gold in a way, by putting that champion in. So it's neutral on the gold. It's also neutral on the cards. You invested a card in your hand with a surprise attack, and a surprise attack draws you a card. So it's a very neutral card. So it's just kind of an auto include if you have a good mix of champions that you have to play on your turn normally. You can easily splash surprise attack into a number of decks. Also, 3 surprise attack plus 1 other wild card can enable you to also just throw 2 fireballs in your deck or something of the sort. Okay, now we're getting into our loyalty cards. Other than Raging T-Rex, which, by the way, this deck is 70% wild cards. So you'll notice all your loyalty is put into your wild, and you're able to hit it basically all the time because you have a good amount of wild cards in your deck. But we have 3 Strafing Dragon, damage, and you can play it on your opponent's turn. It's a threat, and honestly, Hunting Raptors. Basically the same thing, except for it can even be repeated damage over and over. You'll notice this deck has a lot of direct damage, and direct damage is something that can be very good in Epic. We'll have another deck here in a little bit that we'll post that will show you how to counter that using just base set cards. But a deck that with a lot of heavy burn can honestly win the game out of nowhere, because a lot of the answers in Epic aren't able to defend on that axis of attack. We also have 3 Flame Strike, removal, but also usually you can win the game by playing the Flame Strike to their player. More burn, Forked Lightning. Forked Lightning, not as good as Flame Strike in terms of winning the game, but you can still hit them for 5 and take out one of their smaller champions, or take out 2 smaller champions. A couple Lightning Storm. You don't need as many of these cards. The reason we play 2 is because I always like usually being able to draw 1, but you never really want to draw 2, considering the fact that it has recall, so you can get it back over and over again. And I've won a mini game by just taking my 1 Lightning Storm, passing turn, pressuring them to do something with my onboard champions, end of turn, getting back my Lightning Storm, and then doing that a couple times for the win. And then the other advantage of Lightning Storm is it's great defensively. If they have a token swarm, you can take out 3 zombie tokens or 6 human tokens all at once with a single Lightning Storm. So it's pretty good at defending. In terms of free cards, Cave Troll is just a good card. 70% of your cards that cost a gold are able to trigger him to be able to get him back from your discard pile. So he's just a reasonable threat. It's great to play Cave Troll. Then you can attack with him the next turn. If they block and or you're able to break him in some other way, he goes back to your discard pile. You can play one of your mini wild champions on your turn, get him back, play him again, and it's like he never really left because he's going to be ready to attack again next turn. We also have Fire Shaman, extra damage, and a lot of your wild cards are already dealing damage. This card can chain with other cards. For example, Flame Strike. If you need to take out an 11 defense champion, this card plus Pim into Flame Strike can take it out. So it works. It's very synergistic with your other burn. Basically, it's a very good card in the deck. 3 Wurm Hatchling. Also, again, he can get pretty big. He doesn't come back like the Cave Troll, but he can actually get in for a lot more damage, considering that he can grow quite fast, and he has Breakthrough. 3 Fireball. Great card, because, sometimes you have no more gold left, and they're just at a couple life, and a timely Fireball or 2 can win the game out of nowhere. Your opponent will not expect that. Well, they will if they know what they're doing, but, they can just be not prepared for that. Multiple Fireballs. Also, Fireball's a great sweeper if they're playing a token swarm strategy. You can always pay the gold to take out all of their tokens. Flashfire, I could see playing more Flashfires if you expect to play against a lot of token strategies, but Flashfire is good for that. And then in a pinch, you can always just draw 2 cards. Lash, great card as a one-of, considering it has recall, and it's just you never usually want a couple, but the recall's there if you do want to draw your second one. But it's a nice little trick to get in there because, it gives you a little bit extra damage, but also the breakthrough. So if they block, you say you're Kong with a 1/1 token, if you lash that Kong, you can get in for a lot of damage. Sea Titan, one of our tempo cards. This guy, like Kong, can negate your opponent's champion that they spent their gold, and basically enables you to, advance your board while negating theirs. And he's an untargetable huge threat, so he's a really good card. Thought Plucker. Now, this card is not a tempo card, but it is basically a card advantage beast. End of turn Thought Plucker, take your turn, attack them with Thought Plucker. That's a 5-card swing. Basically, you still maintain your Thought Plucker on the board, draw 2 cards, have them discard 2 cards. You can really tear up someone's hand. So this doesn't really synergize with most of the deck, but it's just a really good card, and it can help you draw more cards to get you more burn so that you can close out the game, because just burning cards like Flame Strike are negative in terms of card advantage because, you invest your card and your gold and you get no cards nor tempo on board in exchange for that, but you do get closer to winning the game, which is very important. We have 3 Rays. Great card. I would say this is more of a tempo neutral card because you can often, negate their turn, and then they spend your gold, you spend yours, so they have you both spent your gold, you both have nothing on board, but hey, you get to get some cards. So it's actually a tempo neutralizing card advantage card. Standalone. I love Standalone in this deck because you have a lot of big beefy monsters and you are not planning on swarming the field a whole lot. I mean, sometimes you do with your free champions, but again, your free champions are free, and sometimes they're easy to be broken, and they do their job and they're finished. And I mean, especially the cards like Cave Troll, you can just get them back. But what this can enable you to do is not die to someone who's going wide and trying to summon a number of champions out. While you may only have your Kong or your Triceratops or your Raging T-Rex, you can just keep your champion and board wipe theirs. And then most of your champions are big since you're playing wild. So Standalone is very good with wild cards. We have 3 Muse. Muse, very good card. Doesn't spend your gold, so it doesn't cost you any tempo. And then as soon as you can play it at the end of their turn, as soon as you take your turn and draw your card, it's already neutral. No gold investment and no card investment once you've drawn your 1 card. And then it can start getting in for damage. The Airborne's relevant because, people don't always have Airborne champions, so you can use it to get in for a couple damage every turn. So she's just pure upside from there. The Ambush also allows you to make a blocker all of a sudden that they weren't expecting. You know, maybe you're in a race where they're expecting to win, you know, if they attack every turn and you attack every turn. But then this can throw a kink in that plan with the 0 cost. And finally, we have 3 copies of Hasty Retreat. Great card. This can gain you some tempo if you return a champion to their hand that costs them a gold, because you didn't invest a gold, but they did. So you can use your gold to advance your board or to further negate their board, and didn't cost you any gold. They will draw a card. You can only target attacking champions, so it's only good defensively. You can't use it offensively on your turn. It'd be very, honestly, probably broken if you could return it to their hand on your turn for 0. But it does draw them a card, but you can always just block with, say, your Muse, and then your Muse won't die because you're returning their champion to the hand before you take the damage. So it's a pretty good card, and then obviously he also draws 2 cards in a pinch if you just need to draw something. So that's the deck. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you have any ideas for other decks in the format of base set only that you would like to play or see as a review. And we'll hopefully also at some point be able to get some matches up so that you can see how these decks play out. But let me know what you think, and thanks for watching.